And so, just like we talked yesterday, so please set up a proper motivation and thinking that I must achieve state of peerless enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, and for that reason, I'm going to listen to this Mahayana teaching. So, whenever we listen to the teachings or whenever you explain the teachings, it is important to set up a proper motivation like that. So you all recite the Heart Sutra all the time, right? And whenever there's a teaching, you recite the Heart Sutra all the time. So in the Heart Sutra, where the mantra, it says Tayata, Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhisoha. Gate means like gone, and Paragate means gone beyond. And Parasangate means gone to the great beyond, and Bodhisoha means like to go on to the enlightenment. And so that means like getting better and better, going from better to better like that. And so, and the other explanation is that when it says gone, it's gone to the path of accumulation, and then from there gone to the path of preparation, and then from there gone to the path of seeing, and then from there gone to the path of meditation, and then finally to the path of normal learning. And so you have to go from one path, the lower path, to the higher path, one after another. And in order to be able to go there, you have to study. You have to know what to what to practice. And so to know what to practice, you have to study. So first you study, and then you practice, and then through practicing, you will go from path to a higher path, from like path of accumulation to path of preparation, and so forth. And so without studying, without studying and practicing, you will not just go up like that. In order to do so, in order to go up from the lower to the higher path, you have to study and practice. So therefore, when you study, it is very important to study with a good motivation. And so we, make prostrations, make offerings, and take refuge, and so forth. So those are good. Those are, of course, practicing Dharma. but that will only help you to not go down. It will not help to go higher and higher up. So that's why we have to do a practice that leads us to go higher and higher up. And that's why Buddha Shakyamuni, when he first taught the Dharma, he taught the Four Noble Truths. So if you study the Four Noble Truths and practice the Four Noble Truths, then you will go higher and higher up.
This was the dark and also knows that you see go to the Lojo Chego, the Lojo Chen, Ya, no, Tashi Chego. This was the Cousin and Geshila, and Yamasol, Lozo no such hero chases, then I know you got with you. Naru the Moncha, the Onsa, the Yamato, 2 minutes on it, the Nichang the Cambodia. 2 minutes on it, the Lozo no said of Lamridum, Tato, 2 minutes on it. 최생의 세물 저와도가와 세물 저와도야 돼. 세물 저와도야 돼. 너서도 너를라서 봐다 전주라서 봐. 저녁에 저와도그래마도 오셔와 저지가 저와도 통고 말해. 그러면 또 와서 내게 싫어. 당근에 야보시 되네 이제 시기 계절 야보요. 계절 야보요 사전에 시에서는 내 그런 속에 다 얘는 야 다시는 많이나 제가 야보르게 시기 있어도 계절지야 있어. 제가 돼. 소 여와 통제 제매요. 되네 제가 하는 가 넘어요. 이나요 말로서 온 제도에서 대나네 대공을 제도에서 하 레와 로스 가제 또 땅거나 또 가레 가제 요나 제도 세는 로그고요 봐 로그가 될 배에도 요 말에 라면에다 영게 로버체는 저손 배요 말에 세도 되네요 거다 노년 말에 배에도 요 안에 무슨 말로서 야 노제가 가르 토는요 대공을 제 나사들 소소 셈 따제제다 야 노제가 가르 중심을 따제제는 하고 그래서
And so just like like we are studying this three principal aspirational path, and which is very short and which contains all the teachings, all the practice, to go higher and higher up. And so that's very good, that Geshe-la requested me to give this teaching, on the three principal aspirational path. Because most of the people, they always show interest in receiving initiations and so forth, but not much interest in the actual teachings. Like three principal aspirational path, or the Lamrim, or mind train. Like guide to the Buddhist way of life and so forth. So in order, we have to transform our mind by practicing Dharma. And so these teachings, like the three principal aspirational path, or the Lamrim, or the guide to the Buddhist way of life, helps to transform our mind. And just by receiving initiation, you will not be able to transform the mind. And so people work so hard to receive initiations. And so Geshe-la, Geshe-la, when we made this request to give, for me to give these teachings, I immediately accepted, because I feel very happy that this is the kind of teachings that Geshe-la is requesting to teach, and this is also what His Holiness the Lama has been promoting all the time, to give the general teaching, and not just giving initiation and so forth, but mostly spending time on doing the general teachings. But people, they spend so much time, even if they have to spend so much money, or even if they have to go through so much difficulties, they will go and receive initiations. But then, I'm not saying that receiving initiation is not good. Of course, it is good. But then, how much does it really help to transform your mind, and how much does it really help you to go higher and higher up? So after you have received the cultural initiation, if you check your mind, do you see any transformation in your mind? Do you see yourself going higher and higher up or not? You should check that. And so this is why His Holiness the Lama, whenever he gives cultural initiation, for the first 3 days, he will give this preliminary teaching, which is this, the common teachings, like the three principal aspirational path and so forth. So without the basis, of these teachings, or understanding of these three principal aspirational path, there is no way one can even receive the initiation.
Delek Khensur Rinpoche Shadari. Nelly to be Shira, Medina, Niju, some Jefsela, Comchedam, Sibi Zawajeva, Manebe, Tesa, tended to be Tala, Besa, or Tere. Take Karas, Sumara, Tushana, Maroto, Tavato, Tojichim, Homo, Karatoba, Yina, Young, Ta Jibo, and Diomar, Tel Shila, Chavachi, you go and Detenguars, and Ninju, Chanju, 70 Tava, Ta is a Ta Jibo, Conga, Tone, and Tavato Tojichim, Toton, Tata, Shirashi, as a tick,
And so now among these three principal aspects of the path, we are on the third one now. And the third one is the correct view of emptiness. And that's in the verse 9. This is without the wisdom relies on ultimate reality. Even though you have generated renunciation and the mind of enlightenment, you cannot cut the root cause of circling, and therefore attempt the method to realize independent rising. And so, in order to achieve the liberation and state of full enlightenment, one has to have the wisdom. Just the method will not be sufficient. One needs the wisdom also. So the renunciation and bodhicitta is the method, and then we need the realization and understanding of the correct view of emptiness, which is the wisdom. So in order to achieve the liberation and state of full enlightenment, one needs wisdom as well.
그래서 시베 저와 제바 문에 비해서 아무다 연주도 전주도 세대 노를 공부 가제 제나요 시베 저와 거의 저와데 매바 제토가 말해서 거의 저와 가르를 주는 남제들 남제들 매바 제토가 말해서 뭐도 봐이다 남제 매바 제와나 아니 다다 용답에 따와되면 다음에 대해서 이런 용답에 따와 또 베타를 매고 그래서
So it's like I said, you cannot cut the root cause of circling. So the root cause of circling or cycling existence, is the self-grasping ignorance. So in order to eliminate that, one has to realize the emptiness. So that's why he says in the fourth line, therefore attempt the method to realize dependent rising.
제가 땡데도비 타는 배고라서 땡데도비 타는 배야 가르르지 땡데데 용답에 따와 도제주 타브레 땡데라 땡데더니 용답에 따와데 지를 체거고요래 롱제제 점에 동마지 도거고요래 대이다 되는 아니 저 도제제 타데 땡데이다 되는 배고그래서 그까 되는 거래서.
And so realizing the dependent rising, is the like the method or the way, to understand the correct view, the correct view of emptiness or the lack of inherent existence. So therefore, one should, therefore is attempt, or strive, in the method to realize dependent rising.
그래서 뭔가 되게 Renunciation 동만 저제 이제 땡데서야 되나. 땡데서 저도 땡데서는 차로 못 보셔야요. 차로 못 보셔야. 단단 대신 땡데도 타나면서 Renunciation 동만 저제 이제 땡데래. Renunciation 동만 저제 이제 땡데서는 저제 이제 땡데래. 땡데라바래. 저제 이제 땡데래. 너 저제 이제 땡데라 땡네 Renunciation 매번 또 가라. 마도 땡데 다음에 땡데서는 땡데 다음에 땡데도 아직 Renunciation 동만 또 많이 용도 용거요. 그래서
And so the dependent rising, is a way to prove that the inherent existence, the emptiness of the inherent existence. So the emptiness, there are like many, or the dependent rising, has a different level, like gross and subtle. So so dependent rising of the cause and effect, is like the gross one, and so you can understand that much easier. And so the subtle one is the dependent rising, that exists, by depending, on the level or on the parts and so forth. So when you realize the emptiness through that, then you also realize the lack of inherent existence.
가서 말로서 쇼만은 이제 치 거로 내가 거로도 땅에나 대에서 내려도 배탈안 배서가 대거가 연발라 아니 내려도 배탈안 배 마스바 내려도 배탈안 배서 대거야 가르쳐 알레 내려도 발은 내가 대게 야고 찾고 봐 대게 야고 찾고 거야 대이다더니 내려도 배탈안 배서서 대가 놓을 때 당간 저거
And so, so again, like I said yesterday, the realizing and the ultimate reality. Right? So, strive in realizing ultimate reality, and instead of saying strive in realizing ultimate reality, it says strive in the method to realize dependent rising. And so, if you if you understand the dependent rising, then you'll be able to understand the ultimate reality or the emptiness. So instead of saying strive, in the method, to realize ultimate reality, it says attempt or strive, the method to strive in the method, to realize dependent rising. So this has a great meaning.
Maybe that's all can you go ship, then a Sunday Jim, Lama shoes at it. Make on shake it, and it, Koa to Yangel, they be chino, Rava, and Mamma Tenetene, Koromano, Mamma Ten, Shama Shamanchu, and do it. Then Jim Gawa Sheba, they never do one you at all, and then Jim Gawa Sheba, they never do one you at Jedu, Maloa, Chichil Maloa, or Yabosha Yamata, Tomachi, over there.
And then the next verse, verse number 10, it says, one who sees the cause and effect of all phenomena of both cyclic existence and the state beyond sorrow as forever unbetraying. And so, the cause and effect of all phenomena of both the cyclic existence and the nirvana or liberation. So that what it means by unbetraying is like, means like from the virtuous action comes the happy result, and then from the non-virtuous action comes the unhappy result, like that. So that's unbetraying. So if it were to get happiness from the non-virtuous, then that will be betraying. Right? So unbetraying means like that.
Loa meba sengede, meloa de carole segregation, Jagawa Sheba never dunga jusana, Jodella Dover. Jagawa Sheba never dunga juado. Jamagawa Sheba never deva jusura, Jadeji Palo Dover. What the Meloa? Jagawa Sheba never Tata Juan. Jamagawa Sheba never dunga juas, Tella, on it, Jade no lower meba. They'll come contact lower meba, the Yaboja Tomachi. I think that maybe that's all currency. Can you go ship, but then the Sunday Jim alone shoes at it. I got a room, maybe that's all. Rabba, there's also not Roger Trouble there. And Tanya tell your mail about the Thomas, Roger Trouble, that's all your mail about the Thomas, then you saw the shooter, and then Java Sunday to the Jim alone shoe, but I assume do it.
And so, so again, like I said, if you create a virtuous cause and then you experience the suffering, or if you create a non-virtuous cause and then you experience the result as a happiness, then that will be betraying. So unbetraying means like from the virtuous the cause comes to the happiness, and from non-virtuous cause comes to the suffering. And so seeing that, so there's the one who sees that, so be able to see that, And then in the third line it says, for whom any object trusted in by the grasping mind has completely disappeared. So it means like some means like inherent existence, right? So inherent existence is not correct. So seeing the things not existing inherently, even nominally, not even even an atom of it, is existing inherently. So when you see that, so being able to see that, when you have seen that, these two, then that has all. Then one has entered the path, pleasing the Buddhas. I tell
the no lower melting this attitude. You did a job at Tayo, make it part of what Tomato Coro, meaning that's all your member. Make it part of a top of your generation, Mato, Roger Traveling a generation, that's all your member, the Tonsona, and that's when you give a long shoe by it. Stay shoe by it, Roger Traveling, that's all your member, but too many to worry. Too many to worry, Yawa give a long shoe by it. So and then in short, you can say also
that so the cause and effect, right? So the cause and effect, unbetraying the cause and effect, seeing the unbetraying cause and effect as being empty of inherent existence, or not not seeing not even like existing in nominally, or not even existing atom of it, atom of the cause and effect, the cause, unbetraying cause and effect, and as existing inherently, not even an atom of it, seeing that as existing inherently. So when you have seen that, then that time, then you have realized emptiness. So when you see that it's merely the unbetraying cause and effect, or merely imputed by the concept, by the mind, and not existing even, nominally, or not existing even the atom of it. So when you have realized, when you see that, then you have realized emptiness, and that time, then you have entered the path pleasing the Buddhas.
That's it. No one did the lower member to come back to go and use it. No one did the judge did never, you don't never lower member, they don't teach it. And Tomba said, Roger Tomba, kill them to my maybe go and you put it. Maybe go and you put it. Just to so no, that package I don't do it. Judge Yapos is actually Roger to Tomba Joe Mashiba. Roger to Tomba Jagger, Jenny Joe Mashiba, or Jenny Gasa, Nova, the Momoyare, Roger to Tomba in a Jenny Telma singing, Conde. I said that among Rojiba mentioned the Roger to Tomba Toyo, they may as a thing, so no what. Corozo, Delek, Yamala, Roma, Delek, Roger to Tomba Care Malemato. How sounds are Roger to Tomba Care Lanayo, Jede Mashiba, so no what, Yungu or Esa. Rowan, Tata. No one did the lower member, Tomba Care, Kovani. Just so no what, just so. Jade Yaboshi Jashir, Roger to Tomba Jamashi, Roger to Tomba, Yaboshi, Jade Mateba, Lomola, Gazarova. What is the so no what they said? I think the Teleguma touch about Stoya, Maresa, Tatamina, Tamatika, Roger to Tomato Sare, touch about the Toya, Maresa.
And then in verse 11, if the appearance of dependent relation, which is unbetraying, is accepted separately from emptiness, and as long as they are seen as separate, then one has still not realized the Buddha's intent. So what it means here, is that, like earlier we talked about the unbetraying cause and effect, right? And so when you are able to posit, the unbetraying cause and effect, then you can't posit the lack of inherent existence. And when you posit the lack of inherent existence, you can't posit the unbetraying cause and effect. So so that's why many lower schools they understand the dependent rising of the cause and effect, but they can't understand the lack of inherent existence. And so that's why it says, so as long as we see these two, the unbetraying cause and effect, and when you posit the unbetraying cause and effect, not able to posit the lack of inherent existence. When you posit the lack of inherent existence, not able to posit the unbetraying cause and effect. So when you see these two as a separate, as long as they are seen as separate, then one has still not realized Buddha's intent. So usually, the dependent rising, is dependent rising, is to prove, that things do not exist inherently. But the lower schools, they accept, the dependent rising, but they actually use that the dependent rising to prove the inherent existence. So that's like the whole like going all the way against that the meaning of the dependent rising. And that's what some text says.
Oh yeah, 다들特别공부 또 봐, 매서 내려봐. 다들特别공부 또 봐, 매서. 더 소리 전에 공부 타도에 또요 말이에요. 더 소리 전에 그 공부 타도에 또 봐, 로제제 동에 되는 샤제 내서 노자 태바도 봐. 전에 내가 노자 태바도 또 가. 또요 말아. 가르데 전에 야보자 시를 로제제 동마자 뭐지. 로제제 동마자 그래 전에 야보 좀 보셔야 했다. 아니 다들 더 소리 전에 공부 타도에 또요 말이에요.
And so, when you see those two as separate, then you have not realized the Buddha's intent, the ultimate intent of the Buddha. And so the ultimate intent of the Buddha is that, to see the things, to see the, things as being empty of inherent existence. And so while seeing the things, being empty of inherent existence, be able to perform the functions. And so forth. So when you are able to see that, then you have seen the intent of the Buddha.
공부 타도에 가지 동거랬으나 다들 타바 소제 존에 공부 타도에 또야 말해. 타바 소제 존에 공부 타도에 또 봐라. 따위 제바데 두가. 따위 제바 하고 들어와. 따위 제바데 두가. 따위 제바데 두세 가르를 준대. 너시 렌조 매바 진짜 더세 하고 들어와. 그런 거 때려로이도 소만 소지 로제제 점에 동안 놓을 샤와. 로제제 동안 예배 저때제 때제 예마 진로를 샤 지도 지스 차와지 주면은 공부를 해서 돼. 너시 렌조 매바 진짜도 대행을 렌조로 봐. 때제 자그래는 로제제 동안 자시고만 로제제 동안 자그래 때제 자시고만 렌조래. 아 렌조 매바 니가 자시 봐지. 니가 지금 좀 더 봐지. 주나 아니 다음에 잡아도 말해. 저는 너시 렌조 매바 진짜도. 아니 근데 멜로토마 좀 얘네 내시 인지 저도 거시나 대체 다위 잡아 두바는 내시들이 남정은 저도 거대 저도 강가로는 시바고 매바 또 소나 대체 다위 잡아 두바를 해서 다위 잡아 두는 세대 되네.
And in order to realize the intents of the Buddha, one has to complete the analysis of the view. So here, like it says in the verse 12, right? If these two realizations are happening simultaneously without alteration, and from merely seeing dependent relation as completely unbetraying, the definite ascertainment comes that completely destroys the way all objects are apprehended as truly existent. At that time, the analysis of the ultimate view is complete. And so, when you are able to see, when you see the dependent arising, you can't see the lack of inherent existence or emptiness of inherent existence. And when you see the emptiness of inherent existence, you can't see the dependent rising. So that is like the alternate. So you see only one at a time, alternately. So without alteration means like seeing when you see the dependent rising, you see the lack of true existence, lack of inherent existence. When you see the lack of inherent existence, you see the dependent rising or dependent relationship. So when you see these two, it says the way the objects are apprehended as truly existent, at that time the analysis of the ultimate view is complete.
제동 다 알려졌는데 하나씩 동화 생겨서 다른 거는 좀 돈이들 뭐 해서 돈이 이도돼. 그래서 마시는 데데 칼에 가보래. 나로서 강간 때에 칼에 가보래. 가르도 사무 동안이 이제 대대로 셔도 칼에 가보래. 얘나요 사무 동안이 그 대대들이 제 이사에서는 태소스 휴나요 내가요. 태소스 휴나요 내가요. 그다음에 엄마 제자 봐도 말해. 세는 중에 친다라 태소소는 사무제 강시 태소스에서 세바서고 세만저서 동안이 이제 대대 가르이나서는 태소에서 더 말했어. 보통에서 당나라도 동안이 이게 대대 시에 그나요 대대 칼에 가버려 마서 제메 시가 바로 셔서 신을 여반 오지로 와. 소도 소나에만 최고를 라카버려. 얘나 알을 대대서 나게이나 런제제 동반이 생각돼 런제제 동바 예마데 대대라서 뛰어. 기라 때내 중앙에서 런제제 저요 말했어요.现在既然真的修嘛，一个容些去这样嘛，容的这样嘛的，别那俺都怎么给不得的，看就是这个这里用的， 그 가지고 제가 그걸 놓지 못하고 와서 뒤로 봐. 제가 팬팅 거는 서로 동네 내가 건데 그래. 나로서 개고 놓지 못하게 되면 가지고 죄를 놓는 거야. 저번에는 놓게 그 자체 가르를 지금 그렇지 뭐 너무 더 와서 뒤로 봐. 그걸 놓지 못하고 와서 뒤로 봐. 대도 이제 최동제 놓지 못하고 봐. 제가 제가 되는 쇼만 있다. 제가 제가 되는 쇼에서 놓지 못하고 봐. 못하고 봐 있다. 다른 게 가르쳐요.这个才对我当时不是，我现在就没把这家的真正忙个通嘛这么年了吧？你些人就这都高兴那是你些现在在考上个当州的叫，当州跟这都就一看到了，他的没把这多说呢，等于这才大约结果做过的也是。
So when you're talking about the emptiness of inherent existence, the emptiness, right? So first of all, we have to understand what is emptiness. It is of course not easy to understand that. We need a lot of merit, to be able to understand that. Some Buddha people, who doesn't have enough merit, will not even have the understanding, or not even have a doubt about it. So people, with a little merit, even if they have a doubt about it, that will move the samsara. There's the quote that says that. So understanding emptiness, as much as we can, is very important. Again, when you talk about inherent existence, right? So lack of emptiness of inherent. Emptiness means emptiness, of inherent existence. And so when it is dependent arising, when it arises by depending on so and so, then that means that it is not inherent existing, right? So not existing by itself, not existing by its from its own side or self-sufficiently. So like for example, like if an old man has to depend on a stick to walk, that means like the old man is not self-sufficient, and so it has to depend on the stick to walk. So it's like that. So anyway, in the text here it says the definite ascertainment comes that completely destroys the way the objects are apprehended as true extent. So that apprehension, right? So when we understand that things do not exist in the way that appears to us, or the way we apprehend them. So when you understand that, that's what he's saying. Basically, the way we apprehend it. When you see that, and at that time, the analysis of ultimate view is complete.
他现在那也他写我的，东北边他写些东北地下的，是吧？现在这种个，那大家在这弄一个在那面他写下来，现在在那从他现在这种个弄一个面他写些，东北个烟他写过去了。我那从那在那他写在那东北个，他种烟他写个，荣新节这边东马的这荣新节也把这把的怕写个药是吧？荣新节也把的怕写个药，他烟他写个药，烟他写个药。 옛날에 다른 나라에서 제가 뭐 제가 농예가 연타세도 동백가 면타세자 농예가 연타세한테 가르쳐 주시나 아니 최통하지 롤라 롱게 천이제 잡아 농마 저래 마도 대중면에 롱게 천이제 잡아 너도요 말레스 대다 농예가 연타세도 돼 그러봐 소소소소의 최통제 롱게 천이제 잡아 농마 저래 마도 대중면에서 롱게 천이제 잡아 요 말레스 연타세가 요레스
And then in the next verse is furthermore, appearance eliminates the extreme of existence, and emptiness eliminates the extreme of non-existence. So usually, the appearance, we'll say, normally, we'll say the appearance will eliminate the extreme of non-existent, right? So when it appears, then the non-existent is eliminated, so the emptiness eliminates the extreme of non-existence. So when it says empty, that means it doesn't exist, right? So usually, we'll say normally, we'll say the emptiness, eliminates the extreme and eliminates the existence. But here it's saying that Lama Tsongkhapa is saying that the appearance eliminates the extreme of existence, and the emptiness eliminates the extreme of non-existent. And so when we see the things do not exist, from its own side, right? So when the things do not exist from its own side, then we see that it doesn't it exists, right? It exists by depending. So as a Rangshingi member, to do it. So it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So when you realize the lack of inherent existence, then so even though it appears as existing inherently or appears as existing by its own characteristics, but it does not exist by its own characteristic, and so that eliminates the extreme of existence. So existing inherently, is extreme of existence, right? So when even though it appears as existing inherently, but it does not exist. It does not exist inherently. So that that eliminates that. When you realize that, that eliminates so the extreme of existing, and extreme of existing is existing from its own side or existing inherently.
동백의 멘타 세야돼. 동백의 멘타 세야돼. 다들 제가 먼저 걸어고 영 도망와야 농의 연타 세워서 동백 멘타 세야돼. 그러봐. 현다 저거 어떤 그 동백의 연타 세거로 봐. 저는 뭐 저거를 동백의 멘타 세. 동백 멘타 세도 돼 가르려 주시는 롱제제 저비가 동마제가 멘타 세로 가르려 롱제제 저비 동백의 동반이 제 야제도 와서. 그것도 매번 말하마다 내가 얘는 제키들을 돈이 자 더고 말아와서 대이다 그 롱시지 집에 돈에 돈만이서 자연도가 좋아 이때 매번 말해서 어떻게 메타세도.
And then the emptiness eliminates the extreme of non-existent is like so because it is empty of inherent existence, therefore it exists. So therefore it exists. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It because you can posit something as being empty of inherent existence, therefore it exists. And so not existing, the extreme of not existing, because it doesn't exist inherently, is being eliminated. And so if you realize the interdependence of the cause and effect, or the emptiness of inherently existing cause and effect, then and you realize how emptiness manifests in the manner of the cause and effect, then you are not captivated by wrong notion holding extreme views. So your understanding will not be captivated or will not be taken away by the wrong notions. And then in the last verse, it says, in this way, you realize exactly the vital points of the three principal aspects of the path. Resort to seeking solitude, generate the power of effort, and quickly accomplish your final goal, my child. And so, Lama Tsongkhapa is advising that you have to first study. So in this way, you have realized exactly the vital points of the. So you have to realize that, you have to understand that. And so without understanding, if you try to go to the solitude, to practice or meditate, then you will have nothing, just blank or dark, then nothing to practice really. So first you have to study well. And so there are two types of meditations, right? The analytical meditation and placement or engaging meditation. And for the beginners, it is important to do the analytical meditation first. So where you analyze about the things, and then once you have understood it well, and then you go to the resort to seeking solitude. And so there's solitude is like the external solitude is staying away from the crowd, from the gatherings, from the crowd, from where there are many people around. So that's the external solitude. The internal solitude is not having all kinds of superstitious thoughts or conceptual thoughts in your mind. So if you're thinking all kinds of things, then you will not be able to do the placement or engaging meditation properly. So then it's advising to resort to the solitude of the external solitude from the crowd or from people, and internal solitude from the conceptual thoughts.
边境的马赛的，边境的马赛，他就个脱家他就在，说脱家他就把的，你如果这些是这凶残，这些不是的，俺都说了这位个来，俺都是不过现在没要的是吧？不过现在这位更高吧的，现在多少的看的差不多我找吧，接着我这个差不多我找吧他，完了嘛，当了这如果东里有那边了，完了接中的有，接中的真的当然差不多我找吧，接中的多年了。 那个吧，家头接大小，他们家头接大小。我这里个从这点嘛了，下午去没有？咱接着我这个，完看了电脑，他老就做那么什么的，要不去找书包现在，因为这个没办法事。
And so then and so by doing that, and then you can quickly accomplish your final goal. So like the Buddhahood or liberation, right? And so it says, my child. So my child, is like. Calling somebody somebody who is very close to you, showing that you're very close, loving or caring, and somebody very close like that. And so this was actually teaching mainly given to Tsabu Mahayana, who went out and then built so many monasteries like 108 monasteries. Anyway, so it was like addressing to him as a son, but this can be can be referred to anybody who is seeking this teaching or practicing this teaching.
他这一切这个地方都是老早都是个先发生了，他绝对是差不意思。这看到他觉得是个选举结果，你现在人都没得选举结果的。 你那是真的，他记得这个嘛，上届决定那个了，有他的选举结束的是吧？选举结束是。
And so after that, we have completed the teaching on the three principles of path briefly. And so whatever which has taught, we should spend time to think about it and check on it, whether it's true or not, what it says here and what Nietzsche said makes sense or not. Buddha said, even Buddha said, to check his teachings, to analyze and to check his teachings.
现在他说的这个选举前的，这人要呢，俺娘也不结果的，是吧？选举前说这个钱嘛，他说没了给这就个的，那说天天认为现在呢，这就是俺那个钱的要嘛的，俺如果这什么拉的嘛都那个。 老总老师，这话这多嘛是老总老师，他到口上的，连也嘛，俺都有没？现在人啊，说这个国菜现在国外来的就是马去了，这对不对？俺如果在以上来说呢，写个要的，因为他还可多个嘛的， 저도 전주 제나 내가 사원년에 요만 소송은 전주 제 마시나 제 신경들을 남한테는 저 같은 같이 남한테 대표해서 내가 나서 대가리 됐으나 내가 돼. 그봐 대다 저로서 펜토 같이 그거 요래 나로서 강계가 아주 예시나 요 대공만 해야 돼. 나도 이러와 나로서 펜토 같이 그거래. 내가 시험한테 저로서 대도 대마시 용거요 아래서 예산대 저로서 전주 양보제 노조 양보제로 지스.
So whatever Rinpoche has explained, you should you can analyze on that, you can check on that, you can even check with other with other people, and these you can say, oh, Rinpoche said so and so thing like that, such and such things like that. Is it really true like that? Is it like that or not? You can analyze or check in that way, which is he doesn't mind at all. Because he said he explained whatever he understand from on his own. He didn't have a time to look at the commentary or any other text. Just from the root text, Geshe-la gave him the root text, and he just looked, read that, and then just explained from there whatever whatever he understands. He explained that, but you can check and find out. And the most important thing is is that it has to be beneficial. It has to be beneficial, and you should study well.
그래서 다 나로서 강간으로 빼면서 봐야 보지 중스 이다 다 나로서 간 생각. 내가 최초의 주기미가 교반한테. 뭐보지를 배도나서 라마 세월 뭐지가 동문에 걸어고 투면 소전 자체 모든 내용을 내 주발에 대주교의 개성과 배내는 그런 주인이 쳐서 가자려는 들이치는 가래자를 다 대적의 계시 걸어 배내는 그런 등 하다 받아지는 거네 저네가 한 네번째 더 줘야 돼. 대소가 이다다 나도 못 줘야 돼. 내가 버려 주셔야 돼. 빽깔리 가버려. 뭐지 그 주셔 더고 말해. 못 봐서 저러서 넘어서 간에 가지 계셔라 니들아 차로 야번 넘어 살해. 단단 이나 못더 내면에 저녁에 차로 야보 찍지를 때 말어 봐. 때만이도 그때도 제대로 내주지는 자신 샤와리 면로 자죠 누가. 그런 집보가 용도고 말하면 뭐 뭐지가 용도서는 쉬자는 마다 뭐 찍어야 제대로 내봐도 제도고 말해. 데이터 다시 가르거나 저로서 그때 서로 야보지 놓아야 돼. 제가 개체보래. 그러네 저는 계시라 저러고는 이나요 나 뭐뭐서 저로서 될 카테를 돼요. 저로서 카테를 돼요. 해서 되는 소송 내내요. 그냥 저요 지금 제한테 제가 제가 개체보래. 나 강강 고사대 내려봐. 강강 고사대 내려 된대면은 고사 매야로 사다를 해야 돼요. 고사 요바한테 뺨무새와 가리쳐버려. 라마 세발라 소바 고사는 대줘야 돼. 할래베 가리쳐버려. 오늘 전에 같이 제대로 말해. 그래서 출발 나시가 나로서 그때 주의조도 가는. 주의조야 돼. 그봐. 하다 받아 전에 주의조한테 제로 지으세. 진짜
So anyway, so this is again the purpose now of having the center, right? So it's very important that we have a center where we can gather, and meet and gather together and do the practice and study and so forth. So it's very extremely kind, of our gurus, to have established this, like Lama Tsongkhapa Rinpoche, who established the center first, and then after that, he invited Geshe Kurukulla, and then who taught at the center for around 10-12 years, and after that, then Geshe Ngawla came to the center. He was appointed as the resident teacher of the center, and then he ran and he kind of guided through for the center and teachings and all these things. So and it is very important to carry on, to continue with that. Starting is much easier, but to keep on going or to conclude it or to keep on going is much more difficult. And so we Geshe now is doing all he can to help. The purpose of the center is to help, right? So the Geshe is doing all he can to help, but he can't do by himself, So you all need to help him. And of course, when he was sick, not well, seems like you all helped him very well. And again, you have to keep on helping it is very kind of our gurus like Lama Tsongkhapa who started the center, but you have to continue. We have to go on continuously. So doing that is very important. And so and so we'll do a little bit of question answer now. You can ask whatever you don't understand, or if you want to check if that is how it is and so forth, and we can check. You can talk, like Anila, said Rinpoche said Anila came to talk to Rinpoche, and looks like Anila really listened well. So she had very good questions. So if you have any questions, then you can ask Rinpoche.
다시 동방에 저러서 저것도 있어요. 저것도 뭐가 저러서 하다가 죄나는 대야사람마다 저것도 죄는 되는.
So Rinpoche said, before he said he was going to ask you the question, right? So to kind of test it and to check whether you have understood or not. But then Rinpoche thinks if he asks you, then maybe you might just run away. So instead, you can ask him now.
Thank you so much. In verse 13, in the English translation, the last two lines say, if you realize how emptiness manifests in the manner of cause and effect, then you are not captivated by wrong notions holding extreme views. Earlier, Rinpoche said that the grossest meaning of dependent origination is cause and effect, and the most subtle is the dependent designation, and that is what's required to be able to see the correct view, the emptiness of inherent existence. So I was trying to understand here how it is that if you realize how emptiness manifests in the matter of cause and effect here, then you're not captivated by the wrong notions of extreme views. Does that make sense, Dr.
Yeah. 나왔던 들 뭐 나와도 동백회는 들었고 지수소 나왔던 슈터 그런 것 때문에 그래서 나왔 말 어려 나왔던 이거 뭐 동백회는 들었고 지수 말때 말 그래서
네, 저도 쪽순.
그래 배그 가래 나 배우면 돼 챙겨 가래 지수소는 나왔어
신앙상이 여태서와도
신앙 스나의 여태서와도 동백 단세션 동반이 요단 되고 요단 되고 차와
출신나?
네
단세 때가 두마.
당연히 되게 모란스에 되는 문제 그래서 당연히 댄저 라고하다 댄저 타라 이거랬어 댄저 라고하다 유견 그래서 윤대기 댄저 됐다 이렇게 내가 댄저 라고하랬어 아니 랑싱 누가 동바데 댄저 또베다보다
때는 참모를 했어.
때는 따고 때는 참모를 쓰고
때 가르를 해주셔.
이나다 내가 없어 이나다 내가 저기 가서 윤대기 So the last city.
비단 리버처리 출신나 네 그래서 국방인 로스.
요단 리버처리 출신나. 요단 리버처리 출신을 왜?
이제 선선다 안데스케네.
요단 리버처리 출신나. 하진.
내가 로저지 준비 동맹은 진행을 제대로 양무지 조심하세요. 요새의 시소나 아니 소소는 단점에 따위면 초반에 용도 말해서 되네. 좋아.
원하기 지와 예상 소에는 원하기 지와 지내데 게시 림버치기 네 땡들기 라파기 전 규랑 대벌 자유레스 근데 라파스 맛도 뭐네디 똥이기 랑식이 또배 돈다는 말이스 아니 단단히 땡들기 참어 이렇게 돈다와 땡에 딱 발라야 돼 대또야다 내가 랑식이 또면 똥바 니기 저번에 또야 주남들 랑식 차기에 대또나 내가 땡들 창고 똥나 또 니기
다시 동료를 진정도 나세요. 네.
엔데스나 엔데 뭐라기 다다 규당 제불 charwe 출라들 삼바다 비랑 제불라 단다 똥벨 다 땡들 락바기 되나
어제 전에 가방을 저들 내면 주한테 야 토그 주나 아니 당자 따위 토그 말해서 롱제 제트 몽체야 되고 롱제 제트 공방도 전에서 토요 말아. 그래 맞는 동안 로제 밤에제 강내가 롱제 제트 동행 거는 전에서 토요 말해. 아 롱제 제트 동행 때문에 전에서 쉬잖아. 타자다와 타자바 따와 저 롱게 전에 저번 점에 따와 제가 그런 내시 토그 말해서는 토그 말했어.
다들 나가 저 모나시에다 윤대기 땡대죠. 윤대기 땡대 또 소나 윤대기 땡대 또 소나 근데 완전 대 탈생의 problem just the good of
대도 맞는 너무 많아. 전에도 걸어도 전에 제대로 야시다. 로제 제 동네가 되는 전에 제대로 야시요 말해. 언니만 강강은 로제 제 동만은 전에 제대로 자원에 용도 말해. 전에 제대로 제 로제 제 잡아 되지도 봐. 어디서 와. 전에 제대로 조시나 그런 게 제지 로제 제대로 동네 뭐는 전에 제대로 조시나 아니 타다만 따와 제대로 나한테 그러봐. 다음에는 주토고 말해 내시토고 말해서
윤대기 땡대디 가서 당시로 똥을 셨던
말해 봐. 로제 동네 때는 전에 제대로 자시나 그래. 어머 로제 봐 맨제 로제 제대로 동네 전에 제대로 자시고 말어. 됐어.
so
로제 제대로 동네 사 말다.
if you are able to pause it the dependent rising of cause and effect from the lack of inherent existence, lack of inherent existence, from the lack of inherent existence, then it will not be captivated, by the extreme views. But so not by itself, not the dependent rising of the cause and effect itself, but if you're able to, and so because earlier we talked about some the lower schools, they're not able to pause it, the dependent rising of cause and effect when they pause it. The lack of inherent. And so, if you're able to pause it, the dependent rising of cause and effect, with the understanding of lack of inherent, then that will not captivate. Then you are not captivated by the wrong notions or the extreme views. Yeah.
저도 그거는 엄마 단저와 로제 제트에 동안에 전에 자시고 말아. 엄마 단저와 저도 상마와 제요로 저도 도대와 서도 엄마 같은 저도 뭐요. 제 노네로 로제 제트에 동안에 전에 자시는데 엄마 단저와 말아요 말아. 어제는 로제 제트에 동안에 전에 조시서나 안롱에 전에 저번에 저번에 내시 토고 말해서.
And so it is only the procedure of mathematical school, who can pause it, the dependent rising of cause and effect, with the lack of inherent existence. So if you can understand that, but others, they don't even accept the lack of inherent existence, right? And so when you say when you try to pause it, the dependent rising of cause and effect, with the lack of inherent existence, then it doesn't, they can't see that. But it's the only mind so the Prasangika mathematical school who pause it that way. So if you see that, and then when you are able to pause it, the dependent rising of cause and effect, with the understanding of lack of inherent existence, then your mind will not be captivated by by these inherently existing thoughts.
뭐야 더 요는 소소소소 양로네 저와 도주서 말이 이식 간다 생각보다 태양에서 그래서 이게 자야도 네 이게 자 너무 요새 그래서 내가 그래라 손 야보주가 이게 자 너무 요새라.
Thank you. Okay. My question is regarding stanza number 9. In Lama Tsongkhapa said attempt to the method to realize dependent rising. So I'm asking, what is the method that Lama Tsongkhapa referring?
그래서 내가 댄저토가 탑라 베이스라는 댄저토가 탑라 베이스죠. 우리 진짜 내가 댄저토가 탑라 베이스 탑이 가르쳤어. territory 탐라 베이스 탐데 가르레스.
탑신 제세가 와 탑라 베스야 때문에 또 탑신 제세가 와 내내 생각해 말해 그봐 다 용도 그래 때문에 또 탑라 베스야 말로도 타와 또 탑라 베스야도 제발로 봐 때문에 또 탑신 제수스 근데 때문에 또 탑신 제수스 그래서
And so it means like seek a way, seek a ways to realize emptiness.
Not specific
There's
method.
no spell, like means like try, like try to realize, try or attempt. So that's what Lama Tsongkhapa Rinpoche translated here, attempt. I usually says try, but it says attempt. So that means like try, try to try different means or different ways to realize that.
yeah so
나도 좀 보이지.
但是框架底下什么跟这样的个康熙框架上呢，它这里面的罗米的密别代数可以归结个，现在三年级别我们说是密别代数可以归结个在这个。
강시 과대처는 단지 군대 나면 로함이 미대 대수 강의 군식을 쓰게 근데 미대 대수 강의 군식을 쓰게 이 식스디 유 랑은 또디 많이 봤다고 이나 양면에 유 공부를 사는 공부 매부터 공부 대모 모두 봤다고 미대 대수 시작이 근데 쉬었다 근데 냠도 와대야 근데 미로 또 통화 잡는 예시 유기 된다는 분이시는 예시 유기 된다는 이미 개발 된다는 분이시 단데다 미배 대수 군 시단이 개발하려나.
미배 대수 세대도 로지 직접 받으러 와. 연재 준비방 저도지 로지 직접 받으러 와. 로지 직접 받에 도서요 매바데 도로요 와. 되게 다들 만나는 저를 지도 가지고 오만데.
근데 미로가 통화 잡는 예시 유기 된다는 분이시는.
되게 그 다들 저도도 집안에. 또 근데 몰라와 통화 저지가 내시가 저도지에 강은 매번 또 용거래서 근데 참모제 또 그래라 내시세를 다들 저다 마마 제다요 내시세를 내시 시도는 알아서 제시도 내시대로 놓자들 거 놓자들 제다가 다 나한테 대자 내가 많이 생각해요 알아서 내시 이제 저도 거시는 내시대 나한테 대자 나한테는 저도지에 매번 또 그래서 근데 몰라와 통화 조지 제가 통화 조지 생각으로 와 다들 이나를
된다는 게 유기 전부터 시작을 다도 전부
다들 전부 저도 제에 돼 너야 말해
남이 말았어.
너 말해 저도 제에 돼 아니
Do you want to know? So anyway, so Kurukulla's the question is about in the verse 12. It says this is the
아니 강시 권 저는 한 거.
의미다.
미배 대수 강의 군식을 써 저.
강의다. 대단. 이게 미배 대수를 가르쳐. What number?
number 12, yeah? So in the verse 10, it says, and for whom any object trusted in by the grasping mind has completely disappeared, right? Has completely disappeared, and so that trusted any object that trusted in by the grasping mind, and also it's asking about the way of where all objects are apprehended, and so where all objects are apprehended. 유대. So
So appearing object versus 진상규. 낭유는 진상규.
너의 다 세전
근데 요때 나이가 샤워도 나이가 샤워했어.
저도 제에 저 너무 과야요 말해 너무 과게요 말해 저도 제에 과가
So it's talking about the appearing object and the apprehended object. So I'm just saying what needs to be the reverse, is the apprehending object. So the way you apprehend it.
连这个农业在那要嘛都没法拿出要的，这做些没法基本都要嘛的，这做些的搞的。
So the appearing object, the object that appears, the appearing object, of the truly grasping ignorance, and a truly grasping ignorance has, the appearing object, some existing, some doesn't exist. But the apprehended object is all doesn't exist at all. So what you're reversing here, or stopping, is the apprehending object.
那么去走去看的鸟类这个样，真的真能这个的，他那在这样马上是吧？走能去的去了多少钱的，多把看的真的真能这个的。因为每天老走那这么多呢。
So if you don't have related questions, with this subject, then we can also ask other questions from your day-to-day life practice or studies that you do another time.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Thank you, Rinpoche. I'm trying to understand that mostly all man-made things are empty of any real meaning in our life. Compounded things and things that have the illusion of reality. Commercials and advertisement have no reality for us, and they're empty in that sense. So is it really just people, human beings, sentient beings, and nature that are really have intrinsic value and should be real for us? Is it mostly just those things?
I don't know how to say.
나 거기 지금은 동백골 아니 이제라 니모 매발다지 거야요세
Nemba 많이 먹어.
nemba 많이 발라 저기
nemba 많이 먹어요. 일단 먼저 nemba 두고서 머리 많이 먹어요. 나 좀봐요. 그러는 거 저기 다 지금 미도 저기 소스 지금 나와서 지금 삼로 코드해줘라 다 지금 그래서 가지고 이제 텐데 하시는 거로. 그렇지. 아니면은 때문 나오는 거 미도 저기 다 때문 나오는 지금 가지고 이제 제해줘라. 근데 소저 안에 가서 되 캡다치도 아 이제 디아 버려 저자로 디아 버려 디년에 디아 버려 디전에 내용을 쓰지 프로그램 뭐지 그저 다 셔셔거라. 그래서 정말 내가 먼저 좀 받아야 돼. 데레코를 레스 거다. 좀 봐. nemba 좀 봐줘 가지고.
nemba를 봤어.
nemba도 봐. 뭔가 nemba스 나타나서 다 뭐네 내로 타도다. 내로서 다 뭐네 그거라.
그는도 되게 nemba한테 말해.
그래 다 뭐네. nemba도 봐 말. nemba도 봤어. 그냥 뭐네 내로게. 내로 많이 받아. 뭐네 많이 받아. 좀 버렸어요, 저라. 어때 내들 거라 시간을 뺐어. 다 먼저 그 때문에 타다가 캠프 쳐야 돼서라 캠프 나와. 때문에 캠프 치기도 안 돼. 잘안 해서 캠프 쳐야 돼. 네 줌바세 때려서 줌바세 돼서 그랬어.
참저 짠데 캠프라시도 짠루지데 시데 디치나 야고 원래 왜 자그레 티리 라이스도 안 나고.
저는 줌바요 용거는 내가 용거를 그거를 진짜 줌바 있는 거를 좀 용거 아니다. 좀 용양을 다시 놔두세요. 에세세 내가 요바는 다 전부 요바는 좀 시에요 그러면. 저는 감각으로 줌바 말이야. 내가 대대로 요래서.
So you're talking about the commercials, like the advertisements, right?
I'm talking about all man-made phenomenon,
Yeah.
products and just modern society. So I'm trying to differentiate what has real importance and reality in our life from all those things that are empty.
So fabrications versus, like for example on the internet and all those things that are used.
What should we value in? Because most man-made things are empty of any real value in our life. So I'm trying to differentiate. So what should we feel comfortable that is really most important in our life? Because it seems almost like it's just people and animals and sentient beings and nature. I mean, what else really would be, what else is there?
So what else is
What else is there that we should put a high value on? Because it's not empty, because it has a lot of intrinsic value in our life.
sicuro 때문에 그런데 돈이 벌시요.
말해. 또 말해라. 나 소속이다 미세 디나 니고라시 돈데 치슈 가래 요네 니고를 계시지라. 그냥 나 타니라 돈이고라시 드리치네. 네 라기.
야, 앉아서 쉬어.
그러니까
아직 안 하고서 그런 게 띵가서 또 저기 돈이 그렇게 쉬어 봐라. 내가 걸 쉬어 마. 지난 게 그런 게 또 나서 뭐네 때문에 좀말에 똥말에 써야죠.
그거다 살바래. 코단다 남배출 장애는 살바라시. 살바시래. 소산다디 똥이고를 뭐네디 뭐네서디 하놓고 하지. 이바이나래 똥이라 에네다나디 남긴 소속이 직den기 따 톤에 상우상수나 에네 소속이 미세티나 에네 가리기 힘보 던다 기치슈 가래 요레스 다 챕터당 다 인터넷 다 다치 다기야 나나 망보 통야다 대주는 줌만 말에 베스 뭐에다 미세티나나 이번에 덴바 요바는 미 소수 미 소수 요베 남미당 다 루포 루무 다 소속이 패트라 그랬나 그래. 나 키당 신비당 소속이 다 신에 와서 뭐 이야기라 이야기도 하고 예를 들어서 덴소당 안에 소속당 제발요데 소속이 다 relationship이요. 소속 무엇이요? 요데 덴소 sentient 덴소기 다 소속 미신나오다 최주가지 원했지 건 요데 내가 말에 대해서 생각해 주지.
벌써 내 안으로 전화 작전을 드려. 마지막 이번에 치료했는데 이번에 똥번지다 계속 쉬고.
도도 느려서게. 그 도도 많이 느리시고서. 방금도 배나 실로치 다자는 담나 통대한테도 소소 무스 지 라파가 투야요 계시와 두고 다 내가 지금 간데 때문에 돼서. 이거 보세요. 자자당은 또 때문에 몸이 더 조다.
대답을 뭐 그런데 맨맨스도 미 소셜리즈로.
미 소셜이 담가요. 조다 또 소소 무슨 지 소소 냠도 종이가 소소 조보 조모 제다 심이. 대도 받았다 원에도 간데 돼서 내가 제대 간에 키고 그랬어.
대면 내가 제일 건드렸다.
소소 삼로도 되니 내가 제로 간에 삼다고 그랬어. 개체로 간에 그랬어.
개체한테 소소는 미스 통대야 될수 있어. 맞아. 단 절세를 하고 오셨지.
So it's difficult to say whether it's what you see what man-mades are really true or not. So some is just when we talk about the emptiness here, that's a little different from what normally we talk about, like whether it exists or not. Is it really real? Is it really real like we see in the movies or in the advertisement, in the commercials? Is it really like that? No, it's not. It's, of course, it's not like that. So we know that, right? We know that it's not really what they're showing is not really like what it really is. But here, when we talk about the emptiness, it is more about anything like the table or the cup. When we talk about the cup, what is the cup itself is empty of inherent existence. That's what we're talking about. Inherent existence is not existing by itself. It depends on cause and condition for it to exist. So therefore, the cup is empty of inherent existence, empty of existing by itself. So because it depends on, so like that, everything depends on so and so things. So it's something. Some depends on cause and condition. Some depends on name. Some depends on designation. Like because it's called like that, therefore it's like that. So that's what we're talking about. So in that in a normal world, of course, there can be things that is real. There can be things that's not real.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Rinpoche, a couple of questions, please. One question from a student online is asking, is inherent existence a non-existent?
Never. That's right. Inherent existence doesn't exist.
Is that the question from once?
That's a question from somebody online. And then the other question I have, Rinpoche, when I think about bodhicitta, in the context of bodhicitta, I have a kind thought for somebody, or I have a concern for somebody who's suffering. This, of course, is very good to have kind thoughts and concerns, but having it for a single sentient being feels incomplete. It doesn't mean to me not to have those thoughts. Of course, we have them, those feelings, but it serves as a reminder that just as we have the kind thought for that one sentient being, we have it for all sentient beings. And similarly, the concern we have not just for one sentient being, we have it for all sentient beings. Is this correct practice?
Can you make sure short?
So you're saying like
Not having
to have a concern for one, or and you have to have concern for all.
So when we have the concern for one, we make that the cause condition to have concern for everybody, not limiting to just one.
Yeah.
So the question is it better or what?
Is that correct practice? To develop bodhicitta within our mind?
No, I didn't understand the question. So you're saying concern for one or concern for all?
So I have concern for Karen, who may not be feeling well.
Yes.
Okay? That's very good that I have that
Yeah.
concern. But if I limit my mind to just have concern for Karen, then that feels incomplete. It feels like an incomplete practice. So when I have a concern for Karen, I use that as a reminder to have concern for all sentient beings who may have suffering too.
Yes. 그런 생각에 나도 저 미치가 잠바 미치라도 잠바 공부에 나도 그런 생각 나오죠. 저 미치 제가 버치라 도면 요데 미치라도 제가 버치라도 그 생각 나오죠. 내가 잠바 공부에나 안에 내가 때는 정말로 내가 배셔야 되는 정말로 지나시는 정말시다라 근데 강에 공부요. 동아 공부에 저 정말 내가 지다서는 내가 생각도 저 잠바 공부에는 안돼 공부 다다를 위해서
这背心呢，真的看到了，我为你想法达到的，而且你修到你记了，然后等等说了，想法加结局好是吧？
Yes, that's right. So yeah, if you take one as example and then apply that to all, yes, that's a correct way to do it. And even if you have just for one, that's also good. Then but again it depends on the major. I mean the how much love you have, right? How much care or kindness you have towards all. It makes difference. If you have towards all, then that becomes bigger, and then if you are just limited to one, then that becomes smaller.
당연히 그때 제대로 대인 하시다 말이야. 내가 생각했을 때 대동배 대마도 단위 대마니요. 그래서 단위 대마, 대동배 대마. 뭐 당연히도 계좌 있는만 잘라서 그 일어나면은 대도 통과 시험하다 단위 배 대마래. 대도 대마 말해. 대도 대마 저게 돈 많이 맞아요 말해. 어떤 가도 계좌 시에 내 못해서는 단위 대마 생각해서 대도. 대마 면에 대마래.
So, sorry. So to your question, Rinpoche wants to add. So there's when we talk about the truth, there's like the ultimate truth, and then there's the conventional truth. So what you're talking about, is it could be all conventional truth, but not the ultimate truth. Because if it's ultimate truth, it has to be emptiness.
A student online followed up with, so the negation of a non-existent is the nature of reality?
매번 가봐도 아니 대마르겠어. 매번
대도면 대마 말해. 아니 그 대마를 뭐래.
So negation of non-existent,
yes,
is not the truth. 아니 가서 매번 가봐도 대마 말했어.
아니 대마래 뭐 저도 대마 말해.
So it's a conventional truth, but it's not the ultimate truth.
Thank you, Rinpoche. I am confused by two words, desire and attachment. They seem almost the same to me, just perhaps used differently. It's easier for me to see how much I desire in this life just by watching myself. But it's very difficult to see what I'm attached to. Can you speak on that?
뭐라는데 틱 콜라다 너는 너바는 차바세요. 너바다 차바 콜라데 데스티 뭐냐고 총선서 뭐라. 근데 고트면은 총선서. 너바는 차바. 내 개발 가능했어. 너바는 차바. 그럼 지금 내 뒤도고도 나한테 밑에다 내 도고도 맞춰진 도고도 너바시로. 너바는 내 영식을 하다. 이나다 차바세야 되는 너바세야 될 개발 가능했어.
아제 소소 지발에 내가 생각해도 차바 생각에 소소 지발에 세바세야 돼. 차바세야 돼. 내가 생각해도 지발에 소소 그러 내가 되는 거는 얘도 공화제 통리 들리지 주나 소리 봐. 내가 이제 데려봐. 제가 차바도 내가니 아제 공원들 저도 때 체험을 맞아. 쇼 너무 지발에.
So they're similar. I mean, they're same, like very similar. The desire and attachment. So because you see something attractive, and then you want to get that for yourself or for something, and that's called attachment. And craving or attachment or desire, they're all same. Yeah.
Any questions? Last question.
Follow on. The negation of inherent existent and non-existent is conventional reality.
So negation, yeah, that's what Rinpoche said earlier, right? So negation of non-existent is a conventional reality, yes. Okay. Conventional truth. Take the Rinpoche this one around. Never 가봐디. 그래서 다녀도 버렸어. 다녀도 버렸어. 다녀도 버렸어. Yeah.
如今跟就学就是的，西安那边有的在我的东北面的这些东北人，有的队伍前面最新呢，他在大外中国有了是他的，上次看看过学这个的就那个，
看过了，真的别看过了。
可以觉得这个起来，
这种人们参与车起来，今天要去做那些吧是吧？东边个东西就这边东边个地了，那这种人们抢完，这种人们个。要不是要去个人呢，他这个大概这个内系统嘛来着，这万一呢，他这边大概这个真的可能说是怕这来了，抽吧嘛，现在就说是怕这种来着，东北这那个差不多，东北这个今天叫现在的，他就往嘛都要嘛的，我们他就往嘛都要嘛的，东北的今天讲的，我们他就往嘛都要嘛的，成他妈看看。 这种这个说一个，他这就七八十岁呢，连着他这边大完这个连着要是吧？然后就他们这边怎么这个，今天的那系统嘛也是，这嘛也是今天的那些个也是，然后就这么真的要一到今天这个今天要什么的，今天的那系统也是，有时电视看的看不的，给看出来，哎，不电视看的看不的。 제가 사실서 시험하는 그 안에 나는 단어 사실 가제 시에요 시에 그거 비슷한 게 그러면 되게 제가 사실 제가 제가 되게 제 거를 떠내 지내는 장로 장마도 제가 시에什么的 Yeah.
So there was the same question, from Lobsang about if you realize how emptiness manifests in the manner of cause and effect, right? So then again, when you talk about the cause and effect, positive the cause and effect, with the lack of inherent instinct, and so when it says this lack of inherent instinct, usually the dependent on the cause and effect. How the cause depends on the effect, and the effect depends on the cause and so forth, is to eliminate the inherent existence. So because it depends on that, therefore it's not inherent existing. Lobsang saying that it was difficult to understand, which is that, that's what it means. Like other schools don't see that. When you see the dependent rising, the cause and effect, dependent rising have a cause and effect, then you don't see the lack of inherent existence. And to see, like again in the translation here, it says, realize how emptiness manifested in the manner of cause and effect. Meaning, like, when you see the cause and effect, dependent rising of the cause and effect, if you can see the inherent lack of inherent existence, then you have realized that. That means you have realized that emptiness at that time, and then that the mind grasping at the true existence will not be able to captivate, or will not be able to affect that. And so, which is saying that of course he's not going into a detailed explanation on that because he doesn't have the text to refer to. He's just going through the root text and saying whatever he can. But so anyway, whatever. So Anish is told Rinpoche that he should go into detail as much as them, but which is how can he go into detail? He doesn't have a text. He's just saying from the root text.
오늘은 다 가래제를 띄던 오늘 전에 세면 제가 전에 그런 담마나 저것을 쏘는 돈이 되는 거는 되려고 보주네 소만 오지 주는 거도 제당한테는 세면대 이제 지지도야 하나대 가동에 라마서 소거는 세면대 짜도도리 차바데 세세 짜도도 얘나 매를 짜 저는 저뒤 나버는 거는 예보소예요 봐서 세면대 전에 제가 제용을 최고로는 세면대 야보 제가 최고로 연애제 최슈 그리고 제 연애제와 안에 지금 하고 말해 안에 최슈 안에 최슈가 노제가 저러면 연애제 그래도 세를 팬 도약이 최 연애제가 된다 최생의 다르마 생도가 사수계는 다르마 생의 점바 생도가 점바 생도가 점바 생의 마음마도는 야수돼야 되는 점바 생도가 pendant 가로도 티바를 천지 생도가 티바를 천지 생도가 티바 그러면 제가 처마 상마치는 연저되고 그러봐 천지 생도가 그래서 산지 생도가 사도도 도로도 그러면 주대요 다가 노제 가로선 점바 생의 가른 점바를 이제 내서로 마음마도는 야수되고 그러봐 어떤 지금 최선의 되는 지가 다로서도 근데 또 가서 셔봐 노제 셔버 제비 주석을 주요하네 셔버 주겠지 셔버 되겠지 셔버 제비치 주 섬여 소소소소는 제세 와서 가라서 회사를 소소세 대로 나빠스네 되네 못하게 대체하고 말아 내가 저도 내가 손님 메타야 다니 메케지야 되는 줘요 말아 그래서 못해야 되네 내가 하면 옷을 커야 말아 얘도를 체질을 해셔 그래 싸지 뭐 체질을 해셔 그래 그봐 체질을 해셔 그래 체질을 해셔 그래 되는 대이사로도 되는 라마 제가 지금 얘도 제가 지금 체질 빼와서 양태도 살았어 양태도 제가 빼나 제가 지금 얘도 지금 체질에서 그 사람도 요하는 거는 얘도 체질은 나면 요하는 요하는데 걸어서 강가에 가서 아주 내가 말아 지금 양보치 제자면 그거는 강강 가로서 아주 내야요 말해 제발 제조를 지금 양보 제자는 제다돼서 너게 알아 내가 나를 저로서 지금서는 나 가르쳐는 semba야를 야를 도야를 가면서요나 어때 제한테 제가 개체 못해 오늘 돈을 당가로서 노년도 맞을 쳐서 세마대 정도에서 누가 오늘 저는 세마대 정도에서 세마대 마찬가지로 자는 자가에 만나는 가면은 같이 가면 레벨을 숨쉬거든 자바지 와 자바지 되네 제这个 그걸 지금은 대중사를 해서 자바지의 셈 형성을 쇼를 해서 뭐 쇼야 돼 셈을 해서 된대로 와 세계의 부수도만 되지 뭐 쇼를 셈을 해마도 저번 뭐 쇼 말아 봐 세계 쇼에서 대셔는 자살을 조치뭘 가내서 제가 셈을 해 나도 야야야 동네에 셈을 해 마마 동네에 셈을 해 나도 야로 가는 만로 가 서로 저것도 해라 좋아 야노야 돼 세그러 같아 이러 나 야노는 로생 로가 간데 세나 어떻게 개와 제야 되면요 말아 롱가잖아 야노야 롱가잖아 개조 제야 되면요 말아 이제 봐야는 롱가 제가 되게 롱가 되게 뭐요 야노 롱가 되게 라마 되면요 말아 가전에 라마 되게 제쳐버려 생각해야 돼 저때 뒤로 봐 좋아. 대장 가로서 강에 하다 지는 너들은 가로서 최소한대로 야보 용야시 소소가 삼바되어 야보 되는 제도되어 야보 용야 뭐만 지가 대신에 소소를 되는 게 가서는 배면서서 뭐를 나이다. 상가로서 소소 그도 되는 요한테 여봐도 다리 버려. 가로서 세라나시는 다리 버려. 세라 봐 대소는 다리 버려. 대세는 뭐야? 세라 리뷰 가대 가리나 그 소소 자는 최소서는 되는 하다 보다 제자는 되거든. 하다 보다 제자는 되거든. 내 나로 소만 너다 그 가사 가서 자서도 소바서 나로 켜봐 가서 좋아이다. 자서 소바서네. 저로서 저 사제 말했어요. 저로서 자서는 반타리 버려서 왔어. 나 봐세 비사소서나서 내려 왔어. 비도 비요만 소소 도와러 왔어. 그러와 소소도 도와러 비요만 와. 저는 소소 도와러서 다 풀어타리 버다 내려 소소 자주 집한테서 제대로 같이 내주나 최선 되는 주나 제주나 왜야 버려. 아무면 이나는 최최자세 요나 되는 영도 소지주나 야 버려. 근데 제가 저로서 연대 오늘 가서 버려. 가사 갈 때도 되네요. 지도 영상을 말도 최소자 정원이네요. 말다 진짜. 최소도 개만 아이오는 되네. 저는 최소자 말도 제가 장원이네요. 말. 도대체 가래제는 손을 돌려 손도 가서 뭐 손도 야사제로 로사요. 누르게 제 손을 돌려 손도 되사제로 로사요. 그래서 내년지 제공체 있다. 그래서 서로서 소소소 소만나다제를 샤레농에서 이나요. 소만나다제를 샤레농 저다음에 고마토 따니로 말해. 사만년에 따니로 말해. 그봐. 저다음 통사자 허에서는 제가 드네요. 저다 제 깨장 내게 저다 내는 저한테 되게 그래 사만년에 제냐면 커야만 그래도 최내서 한번 걸어 봐. 뭐고도 소 리드 소고요. 제가 저도 뭐고요 봐. 저도 나샤지요. 나샤지도 요한테 이나요 나샤를 만들면 소만노다 제대 차례 농에는 저도 제보용 거래. 근데 저는 저거 대체보 마요나한테 다른 렌저 먼저 해야 돼. 들러러 와라. 야보 가대 제가 두보게 되는데 렌저 와라. 근데 렌저 먼저 다른 줄은 레송아. 대대 저도 야보 가대 제가 소소로 마모 받아 이나다 가래이나 야보 세셔마도 아주 전달아 용생을 일단 넘어서 관계로 저거 그래.
So, so anyway, try to study what as much as we can. Studying is very important. Nowadays there's so many facilities or means you can use to study on the internet, and also there are many books by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. You should study all the teachings you can, and then study and then put into practice. Whatever you study, you can try to put into practice. And so in order to practice, of course, you have to study. Without studying, you can't practice. So first studying is important, and then after that, and practicing. And so it is the Dharma, practice, that helps us, It's not, not other things. So Dharma practice is again mainly to transform one's mind, nothing else. So it is the practice of Dharma, is to just to subdue one's mind or tame one's mind. It's not for becoming rich or not for having a long life or not for having a high position and so forth. It's mainly to subdue, transform one's mind. And so when it's a Dharma, in Sanskrit, the teaching is called the Dharma. Dharma means to hold it, so to hold. So just like in the clouds in Tibetan we call it water holder. It's like the cloud is like that holds the water, and so in Tibetan, the other name for the cloud is called the water holder, and just like that. So what Dharma hold, is it holds us from falling into the lower realms, into the lower realms. So therefore, it's called Dharma. And and so there are many different types of level of Dharma, like the Dharma of the small scope, the medium scope, and the great scope. And so whatever level one can fit into, one should practice that. But whatever one can do, one should like continuously do it. Do it. Otherwise, if you do a little bit and don't do it other time, then it will not be helpful. And then also, of course, there are many other the deity practices, and each deity have their own specialties. So this deity is good for this deity is good, and so each Lama, when they explain or when they teach about that particular deity, then they explain the qualities of that deity, and and of course each deity have their own qualities, the excellent qualities. But whatever and whichever you are practicing, you should just concentrate on that. If you try to go everywhere, then you will not get anywhere. And so anyway, it means again, like I said, it is the mind that has to be tamed and be transformed. So it's for that purpose that we practice Dharma. So it is the mind, the Dharma, practicing Dharma that brings us up, and not practicing Dharma will bring us. So it's up to us whether we want to go up or we want to go down. It is. So if we want to go up, then we have to practice Dharma, practice the virtuous actions, and it is only the virtuous action that can bring us up. So because it's the Dharma that can bring us up, and knowing how to practice Dharma is very important. So therefore, again, we need the teacher or the guru who teaches us. Therefore, having guru is very important. And then, and so like a place here, we have a guru and who can teach, and we have the center, a place where we can gather together to do the practices, to get the teaching, to receive the teachings, to do the practices, and so forth. So we should all support the center. So it is the center where it's only the center, that where we can go and practice Dharma, right? And that we don't have big monasteries. Big monasteries like and so forth. So this is only the place we have. So if we come here and do the practices on a special days, on a special time, on special days, if we do the practice, then that's good enough. You don't have to spend a whole lot to go all the way to India to these great monasteries, and whatever you can do there, that's good enough. So that's what Rinpoche said. He advised his disciples, some of them, the ex-monks, who live in the West, and they have left. They were not expelled, but they left on their own. And now they're by themselves, so they are like gathering together in one of their houses, and then try to do practices or pujas, on the special days or special time. And and so this is again, when you're doing your jobs, so you have to be honest, and work, the work that you have to do, you should do that, not like doing only when there's when the employer or the owner comes around. Like in Tibet, people they shout and pretend as doing something when the owner comes nearby, and they pretend as they're doing something. Other times they're not doing. and just sitting there and not doing anything. Should not do like that. Even if you don't have anybody, supervisors or the managers around, you should work, do the work that you're supposed to do. Otherwise, like we talked about, the cause and effect, unbetraying cause and effect, right? So if you if you don't do the job properly and then you get the earning from that, then that would be like like betraying the result. So anyway, so those are the things that Rinpoche just mentioned, and that's all I could remember to talk.
다들 가서 샤와는 통단지의 샤와니 있어요. 가서 샤와이마. 도매 샤와 근로에서 가서 근로 연구 그거라이마. 다 담에 샤와데 뭐와 알아서 다들 내셔서 계획자 자체 뭐지 사줘요. 그러고서 그거 넘어 담에 거는 알아서 대패하이다. 계획자 자체 뭐지 사줘. 계획자 자체 뭐 사봐대. 양모와 맞지나? 아니 영어 마시고 전부터 내가 되는 슈슈를 돈이 내가 님에도 도자고요. 다음에도 저도 처음에 뭐시데 아니 추를 도자고요. 제가 뭐가 제가 대셔로 개체 모레스.
And then, just like Rinpoche said in the beginning, there are two activities, one at the beginning and one at the end. So the beginning one is the proper motivation at the beginning, and then because now we have discussed this teaching for 3 days and have accumulated a great amount of merit and left very strong positive imprints on our mind, and so so this merit that we have accumulated by attending the teaching, we should dedicate for a good purpose and for the state of to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. If we don't dedicate, these merits can decrease as the delusions arise in our mind again and again, and so then that makes the merits maybe not completely disappear, but it makes it become less and less.
그래서 소소소소 다른 계획자와 자체모서 써야요. 이다 계획자와 자체모 달았더니 네 맞는 게 다든지 선제 통을 잡아나는 거 용도가 두배 선제지 고보도에 저는 로바쇼 저저지도 다 되게 되고요. 그래서 때는 뭐의 별로 나다는데 돈이 내야 되가. 어떻게 되그래서
And so this is again you have each one of us have accumulated great merit or virtues, the root of virtue, and so we should dedicate that. So the best way to dedicate is to dedicate that merit to be able to achieve state of full enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So that's the meaning. But anyway, the verses for dedication we will be reciting here later anyway.
tweet 되니까 손님만 로야를 다 알는 넘시에 저번에서 계시라고 쓰는데 넘시에 따기지 그러고 차반바 루스에서 되려는 때도 되고는 너선다 저런이 계좌 제대로 손이 되려는 내지 제기는 손이 돼야지 가르쳐 단단히 타 제자면 손님만 제게 됐으니까 더 공부하시면 가라 내가 그 공부하셔가 말아요 저러도 칼리 가보다가 내가 공부하셔야 남는 요아마 그때가 단단히 타 제자면 공부하셔가 말해 손이 공부하셔가 말 노년간에 주주 이제로 와 가상관을 해서지 저러도 이 공세 이제로 와 뭐대다 말 제롱의 세이나 뒤 공부하셔가 말해 계셔로 저로 타 제주라 가르 너도 나니 농수의 제모였는 때도 주고래 농수들 차반도 자기네 농수들 난 농수들 시행이다 그래서 가 보지는 가지 야가 파 보스만 되게 사제 제다치를 커서는 가지 안 소자한테 좋아 농수들에서는 따야 요시도 누구 못한다 예시 telling 저도 저도 so they don't know much money.
So Rinpoche said he's supposed to leave tomorrow. But if the weather is not good, then he will stay. If he needs to stay, he will stay tomorrow. And Geshe-la Rinpoche is asking Geshe-la and his attendant to discuss whether to leave tomorrow or not, because whoever is driving has to take a day off, right? So if Rinpoche is not leaving tomorrow, then you don't have to take a day off. Whoever is driving, I don't know who is that. So Rinpoche says he's if it's raining, he's not scared, but he's very scared of the gusty winds. Okay, so do the Thanksgiving mandal offering. Page 39.
Michael. Say one behind. Jennifer. Yes, grab the things are handed to you. You put them in the frame. Behind. Okay, behind seven. Say one first. And then.
Lama prayer for his son, Lama. In the snow mountains, the cold lands, those of the great feel and joy, their Lord and angels of generosity, remain in life till some stars end. Page 49 for short Lama prayer. Lama Tsongkhapa. Page 57 for the prayer of dedication.
Most simple thing and most important thing to say to Tishina. Thank you for the amazing, amazing gift, Lama, your teachings. Rinpoche, please stay healthy, please stay long, and come back to Kurukulla Center really, really, really soon. Also, great, incredible thanks to Geshe Tenli, without whom we wouldn't have causes and conditions to invite amazing teachers like Rinpoche. Thank you. Geshe Tenli. in Dharamchala, without whom we wouldn't know anything that would have happened.
잠깐 맨날 유명을 했어.
거의 맨날 이거.
All of our venerables, thank you so much for everything, for being here, being part of our community. We can't do it without you. And we can't do it without all of you. You create the causes and conditions to have these teachings. Without you, there's no reason to. And you're the ones who do all the work to make it all happen. So thank you. Thank you for making this happen for all of us, for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then you come here, we take one group picture for the memory in the future time.